President Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill passing the House overnight. Good morning. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning as we go live to give you what's going on in government you pay for. It is the center square where you can go get the headlines from what's happening in Washington, D.C., to what's happening here in the land of Lincoln, at the State House, and beyond. So be sure to get the newsletter each and every weekday morning, and you'll get headlines in your inbox. And one of the headlines you'll be able to see this morning is U.S. House passes Trump-endorsed budget reconciliation bill. And at the center square, you can read how Republicans in the U.S. House Thursday morning, they passed the multi-trillion-dollar budget reconciliation bill after more than a day of debate in committee before reaching the House floor. The vote was 215 to 214. Two Republicans joined Democrats in voting against it, one of them being Thomas Massey. The reconciliation bill got compiled from 11 House committee prints, fulfilling the Republican budget resolution, spending and saving instructions, funds President Donald Trump's tax, border, defense, and energy agenda at the cost of at least $3.3 trillion over the next decade. It also includes a $4 trillion debt ceiling hike. And that was a big problem with some of the Republicans, and most of them seeming to go in line with other Republicans. But again, you had two Republicans voting against it. So go read up on that. And then also you can find, if you're interested in more Second Amendment related news, you can go to the Washington State area of thecentersquare.com. Just pull down the states tab here, and you'll be able to see all the states that we have coverage in. And then you can find stories like this one, where the measure to require a permit to purchase in Washington State was signed by the governor. So you can watch that as well and hear what they're doing. Essentially, it sounds like they're creating a firearm owner ID card type of system in Washington State. And you can also read up how other states are dealing with their budget issues, including Illinois, which we're going to get to in fine style here in the next week, as ideas are being floated on a variety of things. So what we're going to do here is it's going to be a longer segment, just a total recap of what happened in the Illinois State House yesterday, because it's the final week and a half of session, right? They're in session today, Friday, and then they're off for Memorial Day weekend. After Monday, they come back Tuesday, and then it's going to be an interesting 4 days there, 4 or 5 days till Saturday, the 31st, when they adjourn. So we're in for it. All right, go to thecentersquare.com, get the newsletter, wake up with us each and every weekday morning, where we will break things down for you of what you need to know to get on with your day from Illinois state government. So enough of me rambling. Stay tuned. We'll get to that segment of an Illinois State House roundup. Why not, right? It's right here with Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning as we break down things happening in the land of Lincoln and beyond.
The other side is so smugly confident in their own unaccountable power and their manipulated map majority that they can say anything they want. You know, this isn't Facebook, this isn't X. This is the Illinois House. And there are rules of decorum.
State Representative Bill Howder yesterday on the House floor after a dust-up on Friday concerning a debate around transgender sports in the state of Illinois. Welcome in to Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you can be with us each and every weekday morning as we go live for Illinois in Focus. And if you join us live, you can check out the chat room here on the YouTube channel, where it's a pretty lively bunch chiming in. Some of the things they're talking about right now is gas prices. Maybe, I saw a headline that's going to be the lowest gas prices in Memorial Day history since 2021. In Illinois, though, if you look at the gas prices compared to neighboring states, we pay much more because we pay a lot of taxes. All because, well, we have a doubling of the gas tax in 2019, and then, annual increases attached to the consumer price index, which it's going to go up again July 1st. There's calls to freeze that, but don't know if that's going to happen. Anyways, all of those things are because of State House policy, and that's what we do here with Illinois in Focus as we look at what's going on at the Illinois State House, and we're in the throes of session. The final week and a half. They're in session today, tomorrow, and then they take Memorial Day weekend off, come back on Tuesday, and they're going to be in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Could they possibly get done before then? Who knows, but May 31st is that deadline to pass a state budget, which we have yet to see fully. But there's lots of other conversations happening at the State House. Yesterday, on the House floor, Republican State Representative Adam Niemerg, he talked about a viral story out of Naperville that's got a lot of people talking.
Many of you have probably seen the recent footage of a biological male obliterating the field at a Naperville junior high girls track meet. He won, and it wasn't even close. According to reports on social media, many of the girls who competed that day left the track meet in tears because they understood, and rightly so, they had no chance of winning. All their hard work and training was for nothing. To think parents and kids still have to be dealing with this astounds me. After all, there is an executive order banning this kind of thing from happening. Folks, this nonsense has to stop. This insanity is leaving a trail of tears, heartache, and oppression of girls and women everywhere. It's time for Illinois to end the madness and to follow federal law.
Now, Niemerg pointing to the executive order that Donald Trump signed banning biological males from performing in female sports. And this debate has spurred up in the House for weeks, for months, actually. It seems like at least once a week, there's points of personal privilege where this is raised, and then Democrats respond. Democratic State Representative Anstava Murray responding to Niemerg yesterday.
I would like to point out that I find it disgusting when adults try to bully children. And that's what's happening right now, because this actually happened in my hometown of Naperville. And there was a contentious board meeting at the school board last night, but there were many community members who showed up in support, in allyship with the young trans child who's still navigating the treacherous waters of being a preteen.
So you've got the debate going back and forth of Republicans saying that girls in girls' sports are having opportunities taken away from them, scholarship opportunities, recognition opportunities, the opportunity to have a record in the placement of certain types of athletic events. They're having that taken away from them because somebody born a male identifies as a girl and then goes into the girls' sports. On the other side, you've got the Democrats saying that Republicans are picking on children. So this was yesterday. Several others talked about it, going back and forth on the House floor during points of personal privilege. So it wasn't talking about a bill in particular, but it was just talking about Illinois policy. This comes after Friday, when the House is in session. Democratic State Representative Kelly Cassidy from Chicago stood up and chastised Republicans for their stance on this issue of trans kids in sports.
The IHSA has revealed that there are three students in the state of Illinois who identify as transgender competing in sports. 3. Y'all, we are grown adults, and we are picking on kids because you are obsessed with children's genitalia.
So when we talked with Kelly Cassidy about this, like 3 or 4 weeks ago, because, again, the debate spurred up on the House floor, and there were several other things going on in this space of the question of trans kids in sports, she told us essentially the same thing, but Friday she took it to the House floor, and that caused State Representative Bill Howder to stand up and ask for a ruling from the parliamentarian on whether or not that violated the rules of decorum in the House. He says that Cassidy essentially alleged that Republicans are pedophiles. Then the speaker, the acting speaker at that time, said they were working on getting a ruling. That was Friday. Tuesday comes around. They're back in session. Howder asks about it. And the parliamentarian said, we'll get that to you. Wednesday, you have Howder bringing that up and saying, where is it? It's been almost a week here, and I'm still waiting on a ruling as to whether Representative Cassidy's comments broke decorum. And then the speaker came out and read the ruling and said that it did not violate rules of decorum, and for people to keep their remarks to policy, not to personalities, and the ruling is not something you can appeal. And then Howder got up after that was announced and was frustrated at the ruling and made some comments about how the majority party has, I'm going to characterize this, run amok.
But I find it astonishing that the words that the opposition is basically sexual perverts is in order in this House. I've been to a couple inaugurations, and the Speaker of the Illinois House said that he was the Speaker for both parties. He was the Speaker of the entire House. But we find today that the other side is so smugly confident in their own unaccountable power and their manipulated map majority that they can say anything they want. This isn't Facebook. This isn't X. This is the Illinois House, and there are rules of decorum.
So those rules of decorum not violated by Cassidy's comments, according to the parliamentarian. Republicans not too happy about that. So obviously the transgender sports debate continues in Illinois as you've got policies allowing for people to identify as they want and perform in the opposite gender sports. Democrats say there's only 3, according to the Illinois High School Association. Republicans say one is one too many when it comes to stripping a female from opportunities in that space. Okay. So again, a lot going on at the State House. That was just one debate spurring up on the House floor. I'm Greg Bishop, and it is Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning as we break things down for you to understand what's going on in the land of Lincoln. I know I said we were going to have one long segment, but after getting through that, I was like, you know what, we'll just have that stand alone. So we are going to do next up here some other substantive things that are happening at the Illinois State House. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. Really appreciate you guys being with me each and every weekday morning. It means a lot. It's good. It fuels my fire to go to the State House and ask tough questions. So appreciate you guys. The Illinois General Assembly approving 68 bills yesterday to advance to Governor J.B. Pritzker's desk. That's after they passed 13 bills on the day before. So we're looking at what? About 70, 80 bills so far that have been passed. We're just getting started, folks. I'm Greg Bishop, Associate Editor for Illinois for the Center Square. You can wake up with headlines in your inbox. Go to the website, thecentersquare.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Make Illinois specific, and you can get those Illinois headlines. You can also wake up with us here with Illinois in Focus, join the chat room live, and get that rundown of what's going on here in Illinois. All right, so 68 bills they passed yesterday. It's a lot of legislation. These are bills that passed one chamber into the next and then passed out of that chamber onto the governor. So we're going to have a busy summer as is with, 80-plus bills that have been signed or that have been approved out of both chambers before they get signed, and we've got several more days to go. I'm anticipating hundreds more bills could pass, including dozens today, dozens tomorrow, when they come back next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Dozens more are going to pass each one of those days, if not 100 plus, and then we're going to get the budget. Then we're going to get a whole bunch of other things. Possible tax increases. That's what Republicans are decrying and trying to warn against. But you've also got tons of other policy that impacts taxpayers. In particular, you've got a policy about the prevailing wage. And again, you can go to thecentersquare.com and find all these headlines. For instance, the Illinois wage bill may shift projects to other states, according to an Illinois state senator. Let's go ahead and pull this story up from the Senate yesterday, where Senator Jason Plummer was critical of the measure here from State Senator Christopher Belt that would say, essentially, whatever the federal minimum wage doesn't matter if Illinois' minimum wage is higher than the federal minimum wage. So it could inflate federal projects in the state of Illinois. Here's Plummer.
There's a lot of areas in Illinois where we could use some federally funded projects, but $10 million here, $1 million there, $100 million there, it only goes so far. If we drive up the costs, we're going to be able to get fewer projects done, thereby harming our constituents. Are you concerned about the impact this legislation could have on that issue?
Senator Belt.
Thank you for the question, Senator, but I really don't think that's the issue. Other states are currently doing it. Missouri Department of Transportation right now implements this. Minnesota, California, and Washington are among 3 other states that right now implement this.
Plummer not satisfied with that answer, still pushing that this is going to inflate costs, which will crowd out resources for other projects.
So what this bill does is it makes it more expensive for the federal government to invest in Illinois. Therefore, they're going to invest in other states where their dollar stretches further, where they can get more road projects done for the same amount of money, where they can get more bridges built for the same amount of money.
So again, the concern being that inflated costs means fewer projects and also higher taxpayer costs because, well, you're paying for all of this.
We're living in a state that personifies in real time how the economy falls backwards and jobs disappear when it's more expensive to do business.
Now, Christopher Belt, Democrat state senator from Swansea, he laid out that he believes this measure is needed.
This legislation really is about fairness. It's about fairness to your neighbors, the people who live in your communities, about getting the fair wage that they deserve.
So you've got the measure advancing out of the Senate after it passed the House. That means it is ready to be sent to Governor J.B. Pritzker. Another measure that passed out of the Illinois General Assembly and can now be sent to the governor requires new school buses after, I believe, 2031 to have seat belts. Here's State Representative Bob Morgan, Democrat from Deerfield.
It's really not that notable in the sense that school buses are already pretty safe, and all new manufactured school buses already are really focusing on having having these 3-point seatbelts. It's going to keep our children safer.
So the question of cost came up from State Representative Patrick Windhorst. There were also questions about liability, and some may be critical of requiring seatbelt usage in school buses because that means that children might not be able to get out of the seatbelt if there's a serious emergency. So there's concerns there. Here is the back and forth between Patrick Windhorst, the Republican floor leader, and Bob Morgan.
We have a note that the Illinois School Transportation Association estimates the additional charge for the seatbelts on a full-size bus ranges from $7,000 to $18,000. Are you aware of that estimate?
No, I'm not. And again, I think that the point there is a cost to having seatbelts in the bus.
Yeah, there is a cost, and that cost is going to ultimately be borne by the taxpayers because of the fact that taxpayers pay property taxes going to their schools in their area. So that cost, how many school buses, then you start seeing that rack up. But what do you pay for safety? All right. So the interesting debate, Morgan saying this really is about protecting kids.
This is really consistent with what all school bus manufacturers, especially the larger school bus manufacturers, are doing already. And with a 6-year phase-in, there's no known cost because this really is consistent with what they're already doing.
So again, what we're doing here is we're just reviewing some of the 68 bills that passed yesterday out of the House and the Senate that are queued up for the governor. All right. And a lot of them were, unanimous support. There were bills about, for instance, allowing for veterans to have easier access to time off so that they could take part in honors ceremonies for fallen soldiers. They could have, paid time off from work. There were other regulations about things concerning food benefits for veterans, these types of things moving through. Other things impacting specific school districts to allow them to operate how they want to operate and maybe being included in state statute that they weren't before. Tons of different policy, right? It's always fascinating to see where the debate comes from, though. And in particular, you've got a policy about warehouse safety that ultimately was approved by both chambers yesterday. State Representative Katie Stewart, Democrat from Edwardsville, led that charge on this warehouse safety measure. And this comes after a violent tornado wrecked an Amazon warehouse in southern Illinois, killing several people. And it sparked a conversation several years ago to bring about more warehouse safety, but here we are a couple of years later. Kind of shows you how slow the General Assembly can be to actually address something like this. Here's Katie Stewart.
We want to make sure that the warehouses have a site-specific safety plan and that safety plan is shared with local first emergency responders. So that's the first part. The second part has to do with the building specifications on any new builds, and I want to point out that everybody has been brought to neutral on those requirements. And then the third part has to do with making sure that we have building inspectors that are properly trained.
So you've got a variety of different things laid out there, right, about warehouse safety, making sure warehouse workers, if there's, say, a tornado coming through, there's somewhere central they can go to protect themselves. But still some questions, in particular about the language of the law, the bill, what it's actually going to impact. State Representative Ryan Spain laying out that he's got, some questions of, well, what's considered a warehouse and what's not considered a warehouse.
In the discussions that we've had privately, you believe that based on the legislative text as written, that your bill is not written with the intention of including grain bins, fertilizer storage, other types of your warehousing of something, but it's not a place where people are working on a regular basis inside those structures.
Correct. It's like a container for stuff, and we don't have people moving that stuff in and out on a regular basis every day. It's like I said, just a container holding a product.
Right.
That's not intended to be included.
So the debate continued on yesterday with the warehouse safety measure, and State Representative C.D. Davidsmeyer, a Republican from Murrayville, said that he wants to make sure that it's clear who is and who is not a warehouse worker, especially in places like silos.
Elevator, you have a grain bin where most of the time nobody's in there.
Right.
But with these hoop buildings and things of that sort, you do have people that are in and out of there moving material around. And so I want to make sure that as we move this forward that we're not including those because normally there's an office right nearby or something of that sort.
So that place, Stewart says, is a place where people can go, and if they're not in a warehouse, then they're not going to be considered warehouse workers.
They would not be considered a warehouse worker, and so the expectation would not be that their safe location is probably within that office space and doesn't need to be within that warehouse.
So clearly, some of the measures passing, the different types of policy changes that they're wanting to bring about, and all of this is the legislative process. We talked briefly yesterday, just kind of going back to Schoolhouse Rock years, how a bill becomes a law, right? And maybe it's important to highlight how we have three branches of government. Right now, we're focused on the Illinois legislature, the legislative branch of government, the ones who write bills to pass, which then go to the executive branch, which in Illinois is controlled by Governor J.B. Pritzker. And Governor J.B. Pritzker has the authority to sign the legislation that the first branch of government, the legislature, passes, and he's supposed to execute on those measures and make sure that he's following the law that the legislature passed. But when you get to the third branch of government, the judicial branch of government, they also play a role in all of this, including when questions are raised about how laws are being interpreted, especially by courts. In particular, there was a case heard yesterday by the Illinois Supreme Court concerning the Pretrial Fairness Act. And this is a story that we've been tracking here, and you can follow along at the Center Square and look up pretrial fairness, and you'll be able to see all kinds of stories. But yesterday, the Illinois Supreme Court had a case of an individual who's in jail pre-trial, but she was arrested in 2023 after the state ended cash bail statewide. This woman was arrested having a stolen vehicle. She was released from jail after being processed because the state did not ask for her to be detained. And pre-trial, she had court hearings. Well, she didn't show up to several court hearings, got arrested again after failing to appear, and then was let out of jail again after being processed, and then continued to miss court dates, and then was arrested where a judge finally said, "You're staying behind bars pre-trial." Well, she took this case all the way to the Illinois Supreme Court. Here is her public defender saying that the lower courts, they got it wrong, and her client should be out pre-trial.
With regard to sanctions, the legislature balanced the policy considerations and determined that at most a 30-day jail sentence should be the penalty for missing a court date. It's not the role of judges to rebalance those policy considerations because they think missing court is more serious than the legislature does. Trial courts can also use other conditions of pretrial release, such as electronic monitoring, to get a criminal defendant to come to trial, to come to court.
So ultimately, her argument is that
when a judge,
the judges can't interpret their own interpretation. They have to follow what the legislature is intending. And the question is, though, how many times can people miss court before they're actually considered, somebody that needs to be held pre-trial? We don't have cash bail anymore. We don't have, she probably, I don't know the means that she has, but could she have bailed herself out? And then if she starts missing court dates, then, the state has money that she's going to be held liable for and ultimately face further charges for not showing up to court, which is what happened in this case. But she was ultimately, after multiple times not showing up to court, said the judge going, "We need to keep you behind bars pending trial because clearly you're not taking this serious." So the assistant state's attorney representing the state making the case that the Pretrial Fairness Act allows for somebody who skips out on court to be held pending trial.
When a judge is satisfied that the evidence shows that a defendant will not appear in court, regardless of the conditions, when the evidence indicates that, the judge has the inherent authority to deny pretrial release.
So the question is now under advisement at the Illinois Supreme Court. They'll make a decision on that in the weeks or months ahead as to whether this individual should remain pretrial. And jail or if they should be released because of the Pretrial Fairness Act. Again, we ended cash bail statewide several years ago, and just to kind of wrap up the state house roundup here, because it's not just the legislature involved here, it's the executive executing the laws and then the judicial branch getting involved. Last week, Republicans, they held a news conference saying that the Safety Act and the Pretrial Fairness Act that's included in the Safety Act are broken and need to be fixed. And Republican State Representative Patrick Windhorst said that cash bail needs to return to the state of Illinois.
We have called for, just to be clear, a restoration of cash bail. There was a Supreme Court commission that talked about we could do a hybrid system that includes cash bail with also more times you can not using monetary bail. But what I think is important is we need to make sure the detention net includes all offenses that are felony offenses if we're going to keep this system.
So we have an interesting kind of line of a trajectory of what to expect with a lot of this legislation that goes through. What else are we possibly going to see before the end of the week? It's hard telling. I mean, they've got hundreds of bills that are queued up to pass to the governor. Are they going to pass all of those? Not sure. We'll keep you updated. Get the headlines in your inbox at thecentersquare.com. Wake up with us here each and every weekday morning for Illinois in Focus Daily, and find the podcast where you get podcasts. Just search Illinois in Focus and you'll find it. All right, I hope you found that informative to be able to see how we go about tracking these things and just how long of a time frame you've got to understand these stories, right? I mean, like the Safety Act and the Pretrial Fairness Act. We've been talking about this since January 2021, and we're still having the courts deal with the aftermath of that law passing. I mean, we're still having to deal with the aftermath of the gun ban passing, for instance. So we'll be hearing a lot more about that and several other things coming up in that space. But clearly, the State House back at it today. We're going to have a lot more to talk about tomorrow, so I hope you'll join us more for Illinois in Focus Daily for a Friday edition. It's right here with the Center Square. Get the headlines at thecentersquare.com. Get the podcast where you find podcasts, Illinois in Focus, or just subscribe, and hit that notification bell and go further on that notification bell to get all, so you get updated when we go live here each and every weekday morning at 8 o'clock on YouTube with Illinois in Focus Daily, only with the Center Square.